Villains steal the spotlight in most video games, having the more interesting roles to play in the plot as they try so hard to perform evil deeds. However, not all video game villains are cut from the same cloth. Some unfortunately are so bad at being bad that they just come off as laughable or mediocre. In today's episode, we'll be looking at my top 10 worst villains in video game history. Why they are bad will come down to their schemes, designs, or purpose in the game. Anything that makes them bad at being bad will make them applicable for the list. Alduin is one of the worst dragons in video game history for me. Sure, he looks pretty fierce, and sure he can destroy towns, but besides that, he's pretty much useless. His whole goal is to rule over men across Tamriel, but he doesn't really do a good job of that. Only appearing a few times at key locations, he doesn't really do anything. As mentioned previously, he destroys a single town, and that's about it. Not only this, but what happens when you finally battle the big bad boss of the game? The exact same thing as when you fight any of the other dragons in the game, turning Alduin into a bit of a joke, to be honest. It's a shame because Alduin had such a cool design, and does come across very terrifying, but they just don't use him in a good way, so he just comes over as mediocre. Move over, Cortex. There is a new villain in town, and his name is Willy Womper Cheeks.
Perhaps a riddle or two!
Holy cannoli! What is that thing?
Willy Womper Cheeks is the true antagonist of Crash Tank Team Racing, and is the mascot of Fan Clutch's Motor World. His head is shaped like a gigantic Wumpa fruit. He often speaks in lyrics and rhymes, which can get quite annoying after a while.
Lee-hi-lee-ho! To the statue you must go! This way or that, fall down, you go splat! And everyone thinks you're a schmo.
The reason this bright fruit gets on the list is the fact that he reveals his plot to everyone out of sheer frustration of their inability to deduce that he was the villain.
Oh, that's it! I have had it! You people are dumber than a sack of hammers! It's me! Me! I tell you!
What kind of villain reveals himself as the antagonist when nobody knew he was the villain? I mean, seriously, he could have gone away with it too if it wasn't for that meddling fruit. Sang Soon was cursed by the gods to help them harvest souls. However, this came at a cost for Sang Soon, making him age rapidly, which could lead to a premature death if he doesn't harvest enough souls. It's not all doom and gloom for Sang Soon, however, as he gains the knowledge and powers of every soul he harvests. Cunningly, he devises his own fighting tournament to lure in a myriad of skilled fighters with powerful souls for him to collect. This sounds pretty cool, so why is he on the list then, you might be asking? Well, when the player finally gets to him, his fight is mediocre at best. He's even weaker than some of the other competitors the player would have already beaten at that point. But that's not all. Once you take Sang Soon down, you find out he's not even the antagonist of the game at all, but in fact just someone who was pulling the strings for the Outworld Emperor.
Victor.
Hello, Nadine.
The most useless character, I think, in the whole of the Uncharted series. Nadine is there just for the ride, essentially. She is a badass leader for a mercenary gang, who is often hired out to the highest bidder. This time round, it's Rafe, who has paid the price and enlisted Nadine and her troops. Throughout the story, we see Nadine kick the Drake brothers' asses, making her seem like a pretty awesome villain to the untrained eye, but no, this is all a ruse. Because when you are finally at the end of the game, after all her men have been killed and she's reached the treasure she sought after with Wrath, she just gives up.
Oh, I'm just leaving. Whether you die or not, I don't really care.
This is very lackluster and ruins her character, especially considering maybe 2 chapters before she was going on about not leaving empty-handed after all the men she has lost and all the effort she has put into it. If you remove Nadine from the game, it wouldn't make a lick of difference. For this, I had to put her on the list. There's nothing worse than a pointless villain. Most likely the politest villain on our list, Girafani is the villain of the first generation of Pokemon games, along with their remakes. His main role is to lead Team Rocket, whose goal is to kidnap and traffic Pokemon. However, when the player does finally encounter the supposedly powerful leader of this evil organization, he just goes through all the same riffraff that all the other standard Pokemon trainers go through when you trigger a Pokemon battle. You battle with your Pokemon, and upon defeating him, he will apologize and give you free money and items. What kind of respectful villain just gives freebies to the guy trying to take him down? This happens 3 times throughout the game, the worst being his final encounter when you find out he is the last gym leader who possesses the Earth Badge. the 8th and last badge needed to proceed to the Elite Four. You're telling me that the evil guy who wishes to steal and sell Pokemon is a respectable member of society? Doesn't sound very Villian-esque to me at all. Sounds more like a senile old moron who doesn't know where his allegiance lies. You should stick to the Puzzle League, I think, Giovanni. What can I say about General Shepard? Well, let's start, shall we, with his whole point in the whole story. He is a highly regarded soldier in the army who is given unlimited resources to track down a terrorist known as Vladimir Makarov. He decides to do this by setting up a task force with the whole goal of hunting down Vladimir. The task force includes Soap, Ghost, Price and Roach. After sending the task force to multiple locations, both Roach and Ghost finally find Vladimir's base of operations, so they report back to General Shepard, only for Shepard to kill them both, just so he could take all the glory and become a war hero. He created a task force for no reason but to betray it. For one, he is a formidable fighter and a soldier to begin with. He is the one who worked out where Vladimir's HQ was in the first place. He didn't need a task force. And second, even if he didn't kill the task force, he would have been known as a war hero along with his team. He would have been a great leader of a task force who killed the biggest terrorist in the universe. I haven't even touched on his perfect final battle where it's just a QTE in a cutscene, but I think it speaks for itself, so I won't go into more details. But his plot is just so stupid and pointless that he has to be on this list. You know who's a good villain? Vaas. Know who a bad villain is? Hoyt. They come from the same game, but the quality is oh so different. Vaas is a madman who you encounter at the beginning of Far Cry 3, who is absolutely bonkers and will stop at nothing to hunt down and punish the player and his friends. Now imagine how shocked players were to find out when you take out this crazy son of a bitch, only about a quarter way into the game. Then who's left to take the mantle of the villain of the game? Well, look no further than Hoyt, Vaas's boss. Hoyt is a businessman who is usually quiet and calm. Most of the time he sits behind his table in a big fortress where he is constantly safe to give orders to his troops, but he never really stands out because of this. When the player finally does confront Hoyt, it's just a QTE while the player is high due to some drugs he took. So you don't really get that feeling of accomplishment from killing Hoyt. Vaas should have been the antagonist of the game, not Hoyt. Star Fox Adventures isn't really remembered that well. With a rushed production on the N64 near the end of its life cycle, it is remembered as one of Nintendo's worst mainstream games. The reason it makes the list today is because within this game there is a loudmouth villain who actually had quite some potential as a villain if only it was well designed or thought out. Instead we get a character that is barely understandable, speaking in a foreign language that you don't even learn how to interact with. He is a famous warlord known for his combat skills, but we the player never get to experience this, of course, because when you finally have a showdown, what happens? He just doesn't attack, he just hops around the room waiting for us McCloud to attack first, and when we finally do attack him, it turns out he's not actually the antagonist of the game, but instead someone completely different who even goes out of his way to kill General Scales for us. This makes General Scales a laughable villain at best because we never really get to see what potential he had. Albert Wesker is at it again in Resident Evil 6. Oh wait, no he's not. Instead we have this chap known as Mr. Derek Simmons. Does Derek have a devious plan like Wesker's where he is planning to betray his friends to profit from their exploits? No. Well, how about trying to turn all humans into super mutants so he can rule over them? No. Well, what does Mr. Simmons do then, you might be asking? Well, simply, he kills the president and releases the T virus on humanity because, well, it's for the good of the United States of America and global security. Let's get this straight. Destroying humanity benefits global security? Destroying law and order by killing the president improves America? This guy felt like he just wanted to kill for fun, and that makes him a boring villain to me. To top it off, at the end of the game he even becomes a mutant T-Rex in one of the Resident Evil's most embarrassing and boring boss fights ever. I mean, this is a horror game. The villain is meant to be cruel and crazy, but a businessman T-Rex mutant doesn't exactly scream horror villain to me. Lyric has the misfortune of being the villain in one of the worst games of this generation, Sonic Boom. This game alone is enough to make my skin crawl, but you know what makes it cruel more? Lyric. Lyric is a snake in a robot suit who plans to kill Sonic so Sonic can't stop his plans in the past. It's confusing. I won't get into details, but time travel. First off, this guy looks like a joke. He constantly wears a fishbowl on his head. Why? Well, why not is probably what Sega said. Looks aside, his actions, his plan, everything about him is so idiotic. All this gets worse when you finally get to take him on at the end of the game and find out that the battle is a cakewalk, lasting all but maybe 3 minutes if that. He basically just floats there waiting for each Sonic team member to complete a section of the level so he can be hurt. It's what I would consider one of the worst boss battles I have ever experienced, and hell, that even means General Scales from earlier who you don't even get to fight I like better. Poorly designed and a story fit for a 5-year-old, Lyric will not be missed when he never appears in a Sonic game again. As always guys, thanks for tuning in. If you want to know about more of my videos in the future, don't forget you can hit the subscribe button underneath the stream. Also don't forget to leave some feedback in the comment section underneath the stream as well to let me know what you think. I will get some more videos out hopefully soon. So thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.